Hello, everybody, and welcome back to another episode of Cantans.
Cantans!
It's us. We're talking about Attack on Titan yet again, episodes 11 through 15. What an exciting time. But first, you should go over to our Subscribe Star page and pledge $10 to get access to all our wacky old bonus episodes.
And also, don't forget to buy this thing that we're selling.
Looking for something to get those anime fans that you know this holiday season? Well,
Blu-ray! I said the wrong thing. Blu-ray!
G-Kids, who you may know for bringing all your favorite anime films to theaters over the last few years, is now bringing them to your house with Blu-ray releases of Weathering With You and
Promare. That's right, we got special editions that they want us to let you know about because they're full of all kinds of cool stuff.
I have a whole analysis video about this movie where I go into extensive depth about why I like it a lot more than all of Makoto Shinkai's other movies, so I recommend watching it.
Imaishi and Nakashima, makers of Gurren Lagann and Kill La Kill, are back with a big old animated feature, and it's got some of the tightest 3D animation ever put on the animated screen.
Not to mention an incredible soundtrack that comes with that thing.
Look at all the stuff that comes with these, the collector's editions of these Blu-ray box sets, and they're available now for purchase for Christmas time. Links are in the description. HD, Ultra HD, posters, behind-the-scenes comments, stickers, and scripts. It's got all kinds of fun things for you and the fam.
So do it!
So do it. Go buy these. They're available now.
人間の比率で考えればあの岩を持ち上げられるとは思えないけど、きっとエレンには私たちを導く強い力がある。
So, Fight the Big Guy continues. And it's, this is finally getting into episodes I haven't seen and don't know what's going to happen at all. But only after we clear the infamous Boulder arc.
Yeah, which
Big Boulder debates.
that makes up episodes 11, 12, and 13, basically. And first of all, the actual boulder carrying is only one, it's actually only a half of one episode, the beginning of episode 13.
It's not the carrying of the boulder that is such an issue. It's
No.
the discussion of the carrying of the boulder that seems to be the main problem here.
So after clearing the previous stuff, we're right outside this Trost district that's been invaded by Titans, and Eren, with his newly found Titan shifting form, has stopped the Titans from killing everyone, and now they're sitting there with this town being engulfed slowly by Titans through the one little hole. They're like, okay, before we lose any more ground, let's try to take back this one little town by using this power. And then, like, Commander Pixis gets involved last episode, as we saw him, and he's like, let's give this thing a shot. It's a long shot. Everyone's grappling with the possibility that a Titan could be on our side, and they have to make a decision. Are the losses worth it? We're soldiers, but did I sign up to work with Titans? We got to deal with all that shit. But finally, it does get done, and isn't that fun for us?
So, like, this, I think it's interesting just to note that we started this battle in episode 4, and it goes to episode 13. So, like, basically the whole first stretch of the show, once we're done with prologue stuff, is this huge battle with tons of moving parts and consequences and different sections and characters dying and, you know, stops and starts and all this different stuff. So it's interesting to see this as, like, the end of the first sort of leg of the show.
Yeah.
And, like, yeah, it basically all culminates in this big, like, how are we going to use the Titan? Are we going to just kill him or not? A lot of people are just losing their fucking minds because they've been in this battle for long enough that they're just like, I just want to die. Just kill me. I'll run away if it means I can get killed. And then Pixis finally gives this big speech, big rousing speech to everybody that basically just reminds them that they are humans. Because I don't remember if I kind of complained about this, I think, in the last couple batches of episodes, that, like, this show's presentation of humanity is maybe just, like, a little too cynical, that, like, just everybody is so, like, rabidly over the top, ready to just lose their minds at the drop of a hat. Like, anything bad happens, and, like, these soldiers who've been trained for 5 years, sure, they might not have seen a Titan up close until now, but goddamn, the eagerness to just, like, oh, I'd rather get killed by you than by a Titan. Why? Is it that, like, why would it be so much better? Like,
Well, I think it probably fairly reasonably captures the idea of soldiers after going through a training period of actually going out and having to face whatever the opposing side is. I'm sure there's got to be a lot of fear gripping people when the moment of truth comes. But, you know, I suppose they're a little more panicky than they just rationally would be. But it's not a rational thing. It's just a fear-based thing. So
I guess it would be different if the humans seemed like they had less of a shot. Like, in the beginning, the idea is, like, humans have no shot. But, like, as it goes on, we see them kill a lot of Titans, you know, like, flippantly, I might add. Like, Mikasa will just, like, kind of show up and murder something and then continue her sentence, you know? Like, there's this sense in the show that, like, Titans are supposed to be this insanely overwhelming threat, but they kind of already aren't now. And as we move into that, it becomes, you know, easier for me to look at it and be like, well, there's like hundreds of you and you're doing pretty okay. Like, surely you could win, you know? Like, surely some of you believe in it at least.
that makes sense. But I guess it's just the natural reaction of them seeing, them processing the possibility of fighting with a Titan for the first time. And then also, there's an issue that's coming to the forefront here that is, we as just like somewhat genre savvy viewers, we just know that like this season is 25 episodes long or whatever. Like, we just get past this boring conversation where you're scared, where you don't know if Aaron's gonna make a difference. We just know that he will make a difference.
Right, yeah.
And I can't blame anybody for feeling that way on the ground, but it's just one of those things that like, okay, I know you have to do this. Please do it as efficiently and quickly as possible to address the realism factor so we can get to the fun.
They don't have to do anything, but this show is very meticulous in that way of like trying to make sure we really get the way that people feel about these Titans and their situation, like showing lots of reactions of lots of different characters to things that happen. I've never been like, that's one of the things I just generally hate in a lot of anime is the tendency to have to show how everyone's feeling about a situation, and it's like, I don't need to see every single person's shocked face, you know, every single time. The show has a tendency for that.
That's true, and I think that one of the reasons is because the show is kind of, it's like the story of not just like the military, but like humanity's reaction as a totality to like this oppressive, like nightmarish thing of the Titans. So like, I agree, those things are kind of boring, and we know what's coming, and it's very predictable. They feel they have to hit it to hit those beats. So I totally understand why that kind of 3 episodes feels like a lull. Although once you get to episode 13 and it's actually happening, it's no longer a lull, and it's pretty good. Just the debates, like, oh no, the plan's failing, and then the plan worked. You know,
I'm not even gonna knock all of the times where it's just characters reacting to things, because the show does have like funny reaction faces. It obviously goes out of its way. Mikasa always has really funny expressions because every situation is like something happens and then she's just like, or like, it's like really like, just like, oh, or like,
but only things, she's pretty stoic, but everything to do with Eren, she comes across as just very like emotionally overly attached in a way that is more debilitating and like affects her judgment in a negative way. Although she's like a pure killing machine.
It's her only negative trait. It's the only weakness she
But
has.
it's also her strongest personality trait too. So it unfortunately, like as opposed to somebody like that we get to meet more in these episodes, Levi, who's shown up and doing stuff. So far, that guy's been purely, he's a little brutal, but he's purely focused on the goal, and he doesn't have this big emotional weakness that Mikasa does.
So yeah, like the Pixis speech that he gives to everybody to rouse them up, it literally is like people like remember that like, oh yeah, I'm fighting because like I have reasons.
Because like you're a soldier. I understand you're afraid and you don't want to die. But I will literally let you leave. But just remember, when you walk away, you're saying that like your daughter instead is the one who's gonna have to face these Titans one day. Which that's the person they're trying to protect. So it's an effective strategy. The whole episode is isn't it cool to be a commander? This is how you motivate people with big speeches. Yeah, it is.
Pixis is a cool dude. He's got a cool design. He's an alcoholic. He says good stuff. I like the sort of relationship of him and Eren, that he just kind of like picks Eren up and is kind of like, hey, look, man, I know everyone else is like full of shit, but I'm not. So just like, I got you, dog. You know, like that's kind of the, like, he just basically shows up, meets Eren, and is like, don't worry about shit. Like, I'm going to make this okay. And then he kind of does, but then they have like a whole trial. But that's later.
Pixis comes across
God,
as a very...
the really I'm thinking about how those 2 episodes leading up to the boulder, there's the Pix, that first one was almost all just Pixis being cool, and then the second one is at the end of that episode they introduced these 3 new characters, 2 of whom are so obviously expendable. I mean, I thought all 3 of them
They
were
all
gonna,
looked expendable, yeah.
The only once the girl survived, I was in retrospect, I was surprised that she was so much better looking than the other 2.
Yeah.
It's just really funny that I was all 3 of them are gonna die, and then when the cute one survived, I was well, okay, I guess that also makes sense.
The show is full of boring-looking characters that
Who
are
die
surprised
immediately.
that die immediately, but then some who are surprisingly narratively important. I don't know. It all shakes out in the end. But yeah, I mean, those characters.
I have to wonder if the shitty art of the manga made it less obvious, exactly which characters were going.
Probably.
Particularly the fact that in the anime, in episode 4, it starts off with that scene where it just introduces our 6 people who you actually are supposed to care about. And you get to the end of the OP, and it's there's the shot of the ones who are going to live, and everyone else you're just well, I'm suspicious of how long this character will be around.
Goes to
Marco.
This goes to my ongoing theory that OPs and EDs are literally spoilers and no one should watch them. The only show that's ever done it right is, there's a few shows that do it right, but you really need to manage what information you are providing in your opening, because it really does affect what the viewer's expectations is going to be for
I really
characters.
think that a lot of the time they just make the OP with the expectation that it's for manga readers or something, to hype them up that all their favorite guys are going to be here,
That's true. That's
just what it feels like. But yeah, so there's a lot of characters who immediately I don't care about anything they're going to do because it's so obvious that they're not going to matter. For instance, the other 2 guys on this girl's team who do unceremoniously die by episode's end.
They get little highlights of cool stuff, but they die, and that's it for them.
I don't remember any cool things they did because I didn't care.
Well, one guy did as heroic a thing as Eren did that we spent a whole episode being oh my god, Eren was so cool when he jumped into Armin's mouth and pulled a guy out. One of these guys literally did the exact same thing. A guy was being swallowed. He jumped in, ripped that guy out, and died. But that guy wasn't the main character, so he doesn't have a secret Titan power to redeem him, make us be whoa, he's so fucking cool! Even though he was equally as heroic as Eren. And a more experienced soldier.
They're all heroes out there on the battlefield.
That's true. That's true.
But yeah, so there's this episode of everybody just kind of fucking around and arguing about Eren, whatever. He lifts the fucking boulder. It's really hard for me to even pretend any of it mattered in retrospect after okay, well, it happens. He lifts it.
Well, the one aspect I like, which I believe was at the end of episode 12, this was kind of the only part I thought was particularly compelling about this stretch was, so Eren, we're given the metaphorical experience Eren's going through because Eren, he does his shift to a Titan, and we're all yes, we're going to do it out. And the first thing he does is attempt to murder Mikasa. That's the first, because this is the first controlled Titan transformation he's trying to do. And so the ramifications of him seeming not fully in control of his Titan powers will come later. And Mikasa gets her signature scar, which wasn't given to her by an enemy Titan. It was Eren himself. Could this be a metaphor for domestic abuse? Is that the idea? He does try to murder her, and he does yell at her a lot, and she does just keep putting up with it.
It's true.
I don't know.
Yeah. Him turning Titan, and then Armin stabs him through the neck, and it's wake up, dude, and he's but it's comfy in here. And
he's clearly experiencing it's presented to us he's with his family before all the Titan fighting started, happy times with him and Mikasa and his mom and dad. He wants to live in this dream world of probably just being in his head, not focused on the reality and the mission at hand. And of course he wakes up. But what is it that wakes him up? And that was the part I liked. And this is where we get our first big Eren ma-freedom speech. And it's because Armin says, Eren, why did you want to do this? Why did you want to join the Survey Corps and go outside? And Eren says, ma-freedom. He turns directly to the camera and raises his Gazdan flag high.
His reason for fighting is because I was born, I think he says.
Well, he's literally quoting Thomas Jefferson. He's saying a man was born with certain inalienable rights, those being life, liberty, and the pursuit of happiness. Specifically liberty. He's when a man is born, he is free. And it's none of these the Titans ain't nobody allowed to stand in the way of that shit. and this will be an important thing for Eren as you go forward in the series. He's just so dedicated that no one. He's a libertarian god. He's an anarcho-capitalist madman, and he won't have anyone tell him or anyone what to do.
Eren Yeager is the protagonist of a Proto Men album.
Yeah.
Which means he'll probably die at the end and accomplish nothing. 'Cause that's usually what happens to them.
Well, he's making some progress, but in this goal, like that's what wakes him up. He just remembers this feeling he has that he wants to be fucking free so damn bad. Yeah. And so he goes Titan mode. He's carrying the boulder. He does that good stuff, and everyone helps. It's a teamwork effort. They all plug up the hole, and at last, this is the other cool thing about this scene.
Did anybody else do anything cool in these 3 episodes? I'm trying to like.
Well, not really.
Oh, there was like a whole shitty arc with what's his name?
Jean.
Jean.
Yeah.
He was doing something. It didn't matter.
Look, that doesn't really matter. It was just like another thing going on. Like, whoa, war is scary and stuff.
Yeah.
His equipment. This is the great equipment malfunction arc. The author wrote in, how can I add drama? We'll just have the equipment fail. He has to go and avoid Titans on foot while he goes and steals, another dead guy's equipment. And then he does, and then he survives. Amazing. It's not bad, it's just not highly compelling.
They find out Marco died. Remember Marco?
They find out Marco dies in the aftermath.
Remember Marco?
I do remember Marco. I felt, looking back on this, I remembered Marco died here. I felt they gave Marco a sufficient amount of screen time as a minor-ish character.
Which one was Marco?
He was the really nice guy. Remember when everyone said why they joined? His thing was like, I want to fight for the king specifically, whereas everyone else was like, I want to live or have food or something. And then he was just the nice guy. It's an appropriate role for the nice guy to die at this point in the story, I think. Just give him a few lines.
Like reminded us of him like at some point in the couple of episodes before that.
Normally, I think people would give you shit for not remembering this guy, but he is fairly unmemorable. So I think you get a pass on this guy.
On Marco, yeah. I mean, I remember his corpse.
Yeah,
but
I remember his hairstyle.
So Titan lifts Boulder. It's kind of funny because like it's a really great piece of animation in that like there's a lot of detail on this motherfucker. He's a big muscly dude. He looks awesome carrying it. But like I think they animated like 2 seconds of movement and then replayed it about 17 times in the course of this. It's fine. It looks great. It's just funny when you keep seeing it again and again. You're like, pretty sure that's the exact same shot of Eren carrying that boulder.
Yeah, that's true. But again, we only carry the boulder for a fairly short period of time, and then it's done. And so I liked it.
I'll say cry.
And the thing about this whole situation that I like is the whole motif going on here is that humanity has done nothing but take losses this entire time. This one act of Eren as a Titan man who blocks this thing, and then they're able to clean up the town and essentially take it back from the Titans. This is the first and only victory that has ever been made against the Titans in the history of mankind. At least, I'm sure some sorties have been won, but this is territory actually regained. First time it's ever happened, which, as you recall, like the entirety of the first layer behind Wall Maria, or was it Wall? I think it's Wall Maria, not Rose. Yeah. Whatever. Like, it's like, could we take all that back too? That would sure be great. Not to mention the actual town that got invaded, Shishigansa or whatever it is, where the secrets of the basement lie. Oh, we got to take back that too. So progress is happening.
So getting past the whole goddamn Boulder arc.
Yeah.
The show's I really am happy about the direction the show is now taking because of the fact that we are leaving the fucking town. And like I've been complaining for a while now basically that like there's too much of just like crowd reaction, normies screaming, everybody being a piece of shit, all that kind of stuff. Like now that we are focused on the Titan killing squad, then it's like I feel like, I actually like think all the characters are going to be relevant. Like whatever people are doing is going to matter. And like, I'm not going to be seeing like the same old zombie apocalypse, shit I've seen 1,000 times. Not to say that, like, I have to commend, and I have to thank Tetsuro Araki for this because I know his directing had to have contributed to this. Much in the way that High School of the Dead, he instructed his episode directors to come up with unique uses of tits in each episode. Like each episode had to have something unique with tits.
The famous bullet dodge tit
Matrix
thing.
tit thing, yeah. So this show, it feels like he gave a similar instruction with Titans. Like, come up with the most like ridiculous way to show a Titan killing someone. And there's one where like a Titan is like dive bombing upside down horizontally through the air, mouth open as Mikasa's like flying towards it. And they do like some kind of thing.
That was Connie or Jean or one of those miscellaneous
someone.
people, I think. Yeah.
It was a very weird scene, but it was hilarious.
Yeah.
And it's like those moments keep you entertained. The
Yeah.
dumb faces, the weird walks, all the like crazy batshit stuff. Like, even though you're kind of looking at the same thing happening over and over again, it's just different enough for each incident to be kind of memorable. And I think that's something that Araki is very good at. But it was nice to finally get away from all that. We have a long courthouse episode, basically.
Right.
Eren is put on trial. People are douchebags as usual and have dumb reasons for wanting him dead. But then Levi steps in and beats the fuck out of him, and then everything's okay.
Basically, two factors are made clear here. One is that Eren has already been useful for humanity, and their first major land regain. So he is a strong potential tool. And two, if he gets out of hand, Levi will kill him.
Right. That's
instantly.
sort of his insurance. 'Cause
Yes.
everybody's big afraid that if they use this Titan, it will backfire on them. It'll be a bad time. But after a long debate, I mean, like, there's no real reason to go through all the debate points because in the end, it doesn't matter. They keep him alive.
Yep.
But Levi kicks the shit out of him. It's a great scene because he's really fucking ruthless.
He kicks him way more than was strictly necessary, I think.
He like really grinds him into the fucking dirt.
Yeah.
But I think he really just wanted to prove the point that like not only that he could like kick his ass and make everybody like oh, this guy's fucking stone cold, but like also that like Eren would take it. Like Eren just literally takes it.
I think that
like,
is
he's
a
like
useful
okay
point.
with it. Like he doesn't even like begrudge having had the shit kicked out of him. He's like, no, that made sense.
It's true. And maybe just as another benefit, I did think he wanted Eren to fear him, to be actively afraid of Levi, which he should be.
Not even just to fear him, but also maybe it's a form of assurance that like, hey, don't worry, I can kill you.
Yeah, that too.
Because like again, Eren is like okay with this idea that like, okay, these guys can maybe kill me. Like,
see, that's another interesting point. It's Eren is extremely willing to go along with the abuses and like the shackling and the scenarios that he's being put through because and this reminds me of the scene in the last batch of episodes when he turns to Mikasa after like being saved and uses his Titan shifting to save them, and he's like, okay, we need to make a decision right now, Mikasa. Either I run away and I do what I gotta do on my own to go defend. I will abandon like any attempts to work with the government. I'll go do it on my own. Or we try to work within the system and see what that'll do. And I believe Armin convinces him that like, no. This would be useful to try to work with these guys. I will convince them, let's make it work. And Armin succeeds. I think that decision is leading like all of Eren's like, okay, Armin convinced me. I'm going to try. I trust. Not all humans are good, but the system is good enough. There's enough good people in there. It's worth trying. And I think that they'll use my talents for good. And so far, that's been the case.
right.
So it's positive to see.
Yeah. So then we get into episode 15, which is where we finally actually leave the town. No, the show makes a dramatic shift from brown to green.
Yep, there it is.
And I'm happy about it. The green looks good. And we meet. Do you know the name of the glasses girl who's obsessed with Titans?
The Hanji. Yeah.
So Hanji is giving us the rundown on Eren. She's very excited. She's got a Titan in her grasp, and she is a Titan otaku, possibly Titan fetishist.
Indeed.
She really just wants to spend all her time with Titans, hanging out with Titans, studying them. She has a lot of empathy for them in a very sincere way. We don't really get any kind of like explanation as to why. Eren asks her right before like she finds out her Titans are dead and freaks out. But she's just a fun character because like to me, like this is the kind of character I'm most interested in seeing in this world is like we get how normal people react to Titans. How do fucking weirdos react to Titans in this world? And that's what I like about this character is like there had to be somebody who was going to be like a fan of them or something.
And I like the level of creeped outedness or weirded outness that all the other soldiers have to Hanji specifically.
It's like she's going around talking about lusting after 2D women or something.
Indeed it is. Indeed it is. And she's great. I mean, the first thing that she does that's interesting or impressive is after getting the shit kicked out of him by Levi in the previous episode, like she picks up the tooth and is like, this is a valuable sample.
That's right.
And then looks in his mouth and says, oh, it already regrew, which is an interesting implication for what Aaron could be about or whatever. But yeah, the fact that she has these 2 new Titan specimens and they're trying all this fucked shit, and she's telling Aaron all about it. About okay, we don't know. Well, this is I remember clearly when I was watching the show for the first time, being like, at last, someone is thinking like me about thinking forward about we need to know as much as possible about the Titans to discover things. And I get why they don't know that much because they're so deadly and dangerous, and it's so hard to get one as a specimen. And it's been such a nightmarish struggle up to this point. But now, after probably in this 5-year gap after the wall rose or Maria fell or whatever it was, they found out that they are weirdly incredibly light. They have like insubstantial bodies that, and she says something like
that line. I love that because she says like she points out like something that big on 2 legs shouldn't be able to walk. And hopefully any intelligent person watching this show had that thought like at some point before now.
Well,
like,
you don't know how magical the Titans are, you know? It could be magic.
Well, I mean, the answer up to this point was it's anime.
Yeah,
you know, like, and that would have been fine. I didn't need to know.
What?
But like now that there is an explanation, it makes me go like, okay, well,
it's informing us the
are
rules
we going
of
to
the world
learn that
here.
like the air system, the 3-dimensional space system somehow makes perfect sense?
I don't think
also,
we're going to
like...
know that one. That's a good point. But and then she says a weird point off of that, which is like, it makes me think that like what our eyes seeing isn't what truly exists. I don't know exactly
How
what
can
the
mirrors
fuck.
be real if our eyes aren't real?
Is she making like a simulation theory point there? I don't know what exactly the idea is behind there. Like you can feel the Titans' bodies. Unless we're in some sort of weird simulation, that definitely is physically there, even if it's like a magical substance, which if Aaron could snap his fingers or bite his hand in this case, and a Titan appears, magic is happening. Where's that matter or light or whatever it is coming from? It's coming from magic in some way. And that's fine. But I mean, and she discovers that like she might have been the one who discovered that they're like weak in the neck or whatever, because one of her previous specimens died when they were cutting off the head by mistake, or maybe not. Like how hot they are, their ability to withstand pain, and I love the scene as she is stabbing one of her specimens. She's weeping and screaming as she's doing it.
Very Bondrewd kind of moment or atmosphere. Like he's not as outwardly emotional, but like it's that same attitude of like, well, like I feel bad that I'm torturing this thing I love, but I have to do it for science. You know? Like,
Yep. And our other discoveries of like that they apparently operate on sunlight because they get inactive at night. And if she just puts like, tents so they don't get any light, they calm down and they stop moving and stuff. And these are all very interesting and potentially useful discoveries for combating Titans and in various operations. So when I got here, when I was watching, I was like, I'm so happy to feel that we're gaining not just in like landmass, that we're not just losing, we're getting like one little town. It's that the information might be vastly, vastly more important in what it takes to fight the Titans.
The information we're learning is more interesting. There's less noise, less stuff we don't care about happening. And the characters are more interesting. Yeah. I was talking about Levi. I immediately understand why he's so fucking popular because of his
popular.
His big gap moe. In that he's, as I put it, he's the ultimate find you a man who can do both. In that you go straight from him just utterly laying into and kicking shit out of Aaron to like wearing a maid like hat and scarf and like dusting a house and being a neat freak and everything.
I've seen a countless number of Fujos posting that shot of him opening the window in his cleaning garment and being swooning over it.
What can I say? The man is perfect.
He's the perfect man.
He just is Mikasa, but the guy like
I'm like, hey, Mikasa Tsukasa. It's
Mikasa
how
and
it
Levi
is.
are both characters who I've always been like, I've always been slightly annoyed with because I like them, but because like how can you not like these two characters? They're just written to be perfect. Like they don't do anything not endearing. So
we've got 2 Sasuke's in this one. And
Sasuke was not endearing though. Sasuke
you're right. You're
right from the very beginning.
And because we already talked about previously how Levi has had scenes that make him clearly a really good guy, and that he cares about his troops, and he wants the best for everybody. And also, I by the way, going back a little bit during the trial, when they're trying to determine what to do with Eren, I appreciated that they bring up. They're like, by the way, we were looking through the file on these two. When they were 9 years old, these 2 children murdered 3 grown murderers and like rapists and whatever. And they were like, everyone's like, holy shit, these are fucked up characters. And I just felt validated. Like, yes, I'm glad we're acknowledging that is weird and fucked up.
Well, and that scene, I'm glad you reminded me of that because it kind of reminded me of the book The Stranger by Albert Camus, which is about a guy who, at the start, his mom dies and he goes to her funeral and he's just like kind of like, well, I haven't really talked to my mom in a long time. I don't really know how to feel. And then he ends up shooting a guy later, and when they put him on trial, their reasoning for why he gets the death penalty is, well, like, we saw him at his mom's funeral, and he did not cry.
Right,
so he's not human, and that's kind of what was going on here, is they're like, oh, well, these 2 kids, they are murderers, so, like, regardless of him being able to turn into a Titan, they're probably just freaks anyways, and, like, people in the crowd are just like, oh, she did it too? She's probably a Titan also.
Yeah.
And just gets out of hand.
I think, if I remember correctly, it was that he's an outsider and he didn't cry at his mom's funeral, which was enough for them to not give him the benefit of the doubt and fuck this guy, he needs to go to jail or whatever.
Yeah. Same goes for Eren until Levi comes and beats him up. If only Levi had been there to beat the shit out of the narrator.
That would have gone a long way, yeah. Well, what can you do? Anyway, I mean, we're just left at the end with they're prepping for a mission. Now that, well, first of all, they're preparing for a mission in like 30 days that's going to be, I think, a long, circuitous route. Wait, no, they're not trying to take back Shishigana or whatever it's called yet. They're just going to test Eren's Titan shifting abilities, like see if he can control it, which just seems like a totally logical, like maybe boring because it's not like moving us forward, but it makes sense that they would like test what Eren can do.
I'm just happy to be in a new place, a new scene, and not know what's going to happen.
But the other surprising thing that's happened is that they wake up one day and apparently one of the soldiers has murdered Hanji's 2 Bean and what is it? Fucking Bean and Sawney, her 2 beloved Titan bros, cannibal cuties.
She told that weird cannibal story too.
She named them after 2 like a human cannibal leader from some tribe or something, which is dope.
I did like that part where she's like she's talking at the Titans basically, just giving, as she's about to name them, giving a speech about how like this human cannibal tribe was basically worse than any Titan has been. Like, they've probably eaten more people than you. They like cooked them and like did all this macabre shit. So like basically her way of saying like, yeah, us humans are even worse and we're going to fuck you up real bad, but like also like I relate to you because we're so bad at the same time, like it's almost like she's trying to say like us humans are exactly like you and that's why in her mind, it's not that different because, like, there's humans who eat people. There's,
there's always, it always comes to my mind, Star Trek when, this discussion of the Titans. Hanji's perspective is interesting. Everybody else hates and fears them and like wants to destroy them completely. Hanji is more like open and understanding and willing to, I guess, anthropomorphize them or, make them seem like her friends. But, like, in Star Trek, they meet a bunch of races like the Borg and, like, the crystalline entity from TNG that are specifically, they go to a place, they'll, like, evaporate all life there or, like, absorb it like the Borg do. But that's just their nature. That's just what they do. It's not an evil or good thing. It's just how they exist. So I think for a scientist like Hanji, it's understandable that they wouldn't be, like, as freaked out by him or whatever, which is kind of cool. It's good to see.
I got nothing more to say about these episodes. Do you?
I have to say that I am looking forward to seeing what happens next and seeing. It sounds like they're going to do a Survey Corps mission. I wonder how like the 3D gear will work in a non-urban environment. I don't know. They talk about using horses. I've always wondered, are horses really that useful against fighting Titans anyway? They keep saying they are, but I don't believe them.
I guess it's just a way to speed you up while you're on foot and not around buildings.
Good luck, team.
Yeah.
That's it. That's all I got.
Yeah, all right. Well, make sure that if you want to say "Cantant" at the end of one of our videos, that you send us a clip either on the Discord that's linked below or on Twitter using the Cantant hashtag. Make sure you
Cantant clips.
get to that subscribe star so that you can get those bonus episodes. And we're going to be talking about slime in the next one. And then the next one after that is Jujutsu Kaisen. And then more Titan, and then more slime.
Actually,
and maybe
Jujutsu
we'll cover the
Kaisen was
Chainsaw
last
Man
week.
manga.
We actually already did Jujutsu Kaisen. Our schedule's a little fucked up. With
Oh,
the
you're
recording.
right. I was thinking about the next thing to come out, not the next thing that we were recording.
It's either Dr.
Shit.
Stone or Chainsaw Man, I think, or something.
Yeah.
We'll figure it
We'll
out. Don't worry
find out.
about it.
You'll
It'll be in the
find out
description.
when we find out.
See you soon, everybody. This could be you. Bye.